A great deal of controversy, meanwhile, about whether social media companies are responsible for spreading terror when they provide a safe haven for bad guys. We talked to a guy yesterday representing some of the victims of that Orlando nightclub attack earlier this year, who says that the assailant there was too much, too close to that. But others have been privy to the same material, other nutcases, other lone wolves, if you will, who have not been affected by that. They just are just crazy, and it's not that has taken them to the next step where they attack.
That's true, but that doesn't mean that these companies should not do what they can reasonably do to prevent ISIS from using their sites as an instrument to conduct operations.
All right, so what he is trying to do is sue, the companies that provide the means, like Facebook and Google's YouTube and others, to allow those who hook up to these organizations to be emboldened by these organizations. And he's suing them on behalf of victims of that Orlando discotheque terror attack. Attorney Emily Campagno says that these social media companies should be held accountable, but attorney Aaron Ehrlich disagrees. Why do you disagree, Aaron?
Well, for starters, let me just say that my heart obviously goes out to these families, and I would love nothing more for them to see justice being served in some form. However, the big hurdle right off the bat is this federal law, Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which has been uniformly interpreted by the courts as creating this blanket immunity for internet service providers who are simply acting as hosts for speech rather than creators of speech. Now, even if these plaintiffs have forum shopped their rear ends off and think they may have found a judge who could potentially be inclined to revisit this interpretation of the federal law, they still have a problem with the underlying claim. How do you prove this causal nexus, especially when there's so many other contributing factors out there which could have been the impetus for this person going off the rails like this?
Emily, you're not quite convinced.
I'm not, and here's why. So while that defense has worked in the past, this is what these social media sites have stood behind, saying we're not responsible for these users' content that they've posted. It has been pierced because in their algorithms that these companies have been using to create and target users on the other end, that is creating novel content. So these social media sites are not merely providing the platform upon which users post things. They are creating novel content when they post ads that targets that user, so that defense no longer works. And in terms of the causal nexus, a relationship suffices.
Would you say they can't do that at all, or would you say they should be forbidden from doing that? Because then you're starting to screen, and then sometimes you get people saying it's intrusive doing all that.
If I could just jump in very quickly, the problem with that argument, at least from my perspective, is it's sort of like putting the cart before the horse. That content that's generated, it's based upon what the end user is searching. So to say that those targeted ads are somehow the impetus for his radicalization completely ignores the fact that he was the one searching for this information in the first place. Let's be honest about it. You don't just stumble upon ISIS propaganda. You got to go looking for it.
But Emily, it sounds like what you're saying is then don't make it so easy to look for, right?
Right, and well, that's not actually the legal issue. So the search has nothing to do with the actual provision. So the point is that regardless of who stumbles upon or who searches for this content, the content itself was created in concert with these social media platforms, and they do not have the chasm between themselves, their creation, and the user's posts that they heretofore have been hiding behind.
All right, ladies, thank you both very, very much. We'll keep an eye on this, but it could be one of these precedent setting lawsuits here, whether online companies have to share in the kind of nuts that are out there and emboldening them. We'll watch it very, very closely.